I'm bored. These guys are all wrong about Starfleet Academy, and I'm going to tell you why. All right, so in case you've been living under a rock the last day or so, Star Trek Starfleet Academy has officially been canceled, and season 2 will be the final season, meaning we're not getting any more Starfleet Academy. But the reality is we're not getting any more Star Trek at all if you look at the fact that they're not producing any Star Trek shows right now. Starfleet Academy Season 2 will be the last season of Star Trek we ever get on Paramount Plus, and I'm going to tell you why. All right, so these guys, these kinds of content creators want you to believe that wokeness is some kind of purity test, and it's what ruins these shows. And in actuality, it just makes real criticism harder to do. There are problems, I want to put this out there are problems with some of these shows, but you can't discuss them at all while people like this are setting off woke fire alarms. It is impossible. I've tried, you can't do it. However, in this video, I don't want to talk about what I think the quality of the show is, whether you should like it or you shouldn't like it. We're not even going to dive into that at all. I'm going to actually give you some reasons, around 3 reasons why things with Star Trek and Paramount are not good right now, and I'm gonna bring some receipts. All right, so first up, it's all about the Benjamins, baby. These studios are not in the business of making art. They're in the business of risk management, and entertainment is the product. When Skydance purchased Paramount, they were $14 billion in the hole with that purchase. $14 billion acquiring Paramount and everything Paramount has. So they've been dealing with this for a while now, trying to figure out how to alleviate the hole that this 14 billion has created. It was actually a little bit more than 14 billion. They got it down to right under 14 billion with a lot of shady stuff like this. They cut 2,000 US jobs in October of last year in trying to fill in this hole that they had with this 14 billion in debt. And that's not all. They also had a mandate to a 5-day return to office starting in January because they were trying to get everyone to either come into the office or quit, take some sort of severance package and walk away so they don't have to employ as many people, because if people quit, they have to negotiate some sort of severance or they walk away with nothing. They can simply say, you have to come into the office or you can go. And then they can either take the L and take a severance package or leave and get nothing. Chances are a lot of these people ended up taking some sort of money to walk away from the company. So they were able to consolidate all of their people back into the office, saving a bunch of money in the workforce by getting a lot of people out of there. They also did price increases. Paramount Plus prices going up in January 2026. It went from $9 to $14 for their most expensive tier. That's a big jump. And they did that while also removing content from their service, taking things away from people and raising the prices in order to fill that $14 billion pothole of debt they have. This is what they were doing. Also, after they came out and said, hey, we are the company that wants to put out 30 movies a year if we end up getting Warner Brothers Discovery, want to put out 30 movies a year. We're committing to 15 on our end. We're going to do another 15 for Warner Brothers. Actively shelved movies and projects. Eloise, Winter Games, and Victor and Sam's Day Off all got shelved almost immediately when they came in because they needed to save money. And these aren't even really expensive movies to make. They're not expensive at all, but they decided it was within their best interest to cut these films. They took the Avatar film and moved it from the theaters onto streaming to save money and to drive more people to their streaming service because they know they don't have a lot on there for people because they've lost a lot of high profile shows. More on that in a moment. Before we go any further, if you're going to enjoy this video and you want this kind of content in your feed, consider subscribing to my channel, leaving a like and leaving a comment down below. It helps the channel, a small channel like mine, immensely when you subscribe and support the channel for more of this debunking content. So thank you so much. The next claim I want to debunk is this idea that the show was canceled because it was too woke and too diverse. That doesn't make any sense. Have you ever watched a Star Trek series before in your entire life? I'm just gonna put this out there. Even if this was the best Star Trek show we've ever had, that we've ever experienced, even if it was the most exciting one, fans gave it 100 out of 100, it was making the most money for Paramount Plus, even if that were the case, the show was still going to go away because Alex Kurtzman, his contract was up at the end of 2026. And if you know anything about contracts, you know that renegotiating is a bitch. Chances are he would have either wanted more money or better terms, or a little bit of both. And the thing is, when you're 14 billion in the hole, you can't really put anything else out there. It's just not there. The money is not there. And this is not even factoring in the possible purchase of Warner Brothers Discovery, which if 14 billion makes you shiver a little bit, with the purchase of Warner Brothers Discovery, they will be 100 billion in the hole, maybe even a little bit more. This is a company that cannot afford to keep making content. And the Star Trek shows themselves are extremely expensive to make in general. Matter of fact, 2 or 3 of the series they have on Paramount Plus that are in the top end are no longer there. They're no longer going to be on Paramount. We're not making any more Star Trek stuff. Mark my words, unless something goes into pre-production in the next 3 or 4 months, no more Star Trek on TV, and they don't even have like someone show running or, in a department making Star Trek content. Once Alex is gone, that position doesn't exist anymore. So there's not a lot of likeliness that we're going to see Star Trek production start up anytime soon. But yeah, it's just about being expensive. It's a really expensive show. And that return on investment wasn't happening with a company that is so fucking far in debt, they can't spare a penny for anything. Matter of fact, one of the other more expensive properties they had was the Taylor Sheridan stuff. Now, Taylor, love him or hate him, love or hate the shows, saw the writing on the wall, jumped ship, and took his stuff elsewhere. His shows, his episodes of TV cost around $10 million an episode to make. And that's roughly around what it was costing them to make an episode of Star Trek. Give or take, between 7 and 10 million. So Taylor was like, this company is going to be in massive debt, and you're not going to take me down with the ship. I'm taking my ball and I'm playing somewhere else. That's what he decided to do. These are his things. They're his toys. He can do whatever he wants with them. But with Alex Kurtzman, the IP of Star Trek belongs to Skydance Paramount, meaning there's nowhere to take it. If they decide not to do anything with it, they don't have to. Which brings me to my next reason why. They need to fill those 15 movies a year slots with something that they have that they feel like they can make money on. They can convince the investors they can make money on it. And that would be Star Trek. So they don't want to double dip both ends with Star Trek and have Star Trek TV shows and Star Trek movies. They want to make them destination films like Star Wars was back in the day. We see what happened with Star Wars. They want to make Star Trek destination films. So they don't want to take a chance on producing expensive TV shows and then expensive movies for the same IP. It's a clean cut for them. And it makes sense. It's a lot less, it's less time involved for them. They could just give the movies to someone, oversee them, and then the movies get made and they go out instead of having to like deal with the budgets of episodes of television, when it's going to get released on their streaming service, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like all of these things factor in. And so it makes a lot of sense to me that they want to end the TV shows, even though I think Star Trek is a better TV series than it is a film franchise, but it's their decision. I think Star Wars is better as films. I think Star Trek is better as TV. That's just my thoughts. They want a clean cut. They want to make those Star Trek movies. They don't want to deal with Star Trek TV shows. And so getting rid of Alex and everything is what looks best for them. So this is why I don't think, like I said, even if this were the best Star Trek show ever, they have no plans to do anything Star Trek TV wise at all. They just don't want to. It's not on the menu for them at all. Again, even if it was a 10 out of 10, 100 out of 100 show, whatever metric you want to use. And just a little fun tidbit of information, because I like to bring receipts whenever I do something. There was a survey done last year. This was in 2025. It's an independent survey that said 25% of Paramount Plus subscribers said Star Trek was extremely important for maintaining their Paramount Plus subscription. Now, I've already talked about that subscription going up in price. And now Star Trek in general, including the older seasons and the newer stuff coming out, ends up making up about 25% of the base of people who are subscribing to Paramount Plus. Interestingly enough, 34% of millennials and Gen Z are the ones who said they want Star Trek, new Star Trek in this poll, whereas only 20% of Gen X said they want this and 14% of boomers in the same poll. So what this means is that a lot of people who are paying for Paramount Plus, roughly 25% of them are doing so specifically for Star Trek. So you take that away and you're going to lose those people. I can tell you there's only two things that I watch on Paramount Plus: Star Trek and RuPaul's Drag Race. And that's it. Those are the only things. One of them is going away, and it makes it really difficult. Already, it's a shit company, but I was trying to support queer entertainment like RuPaul's Drag Race. But with that going away, it makes it really difficult to go, hey, I want to pay, $16 a month roughly when it's all said and done for Paramount Plus when I'm only watching one thing on it. And I can't even imagine how many people that watch Taylor Sheridan stuff are going to skip town once all of that is moving somewhere else. So this isn't good for them. But I have one more point I want to make. One thing that really, really baffles me is this idea that taking down something, getting something removed, getting something canceled that you don't like will lead to some sort of magical positive outcome for you. Like you're going to get some reward on the other side because you managed to get something canceled. I don't understand this mentality because there is no example of this actually happening. I can't think of any example where something that I loved that had a couple of things that I didn't like gets canceled with the promise of something better coming on the other side. And when I say promise, I mean within the community, that something magical is going to be available when it goes away, and it comes back and it's the best thing they've ever done. I don't think that's ever happened. I don't think there's an example of that. I can't think of one. I can't think of any of them at all. Like there's nothing in my mind that's going, yeah, this thing that went away and then came back was so much better than the original one. It lives up to all the hype. I've never, ever seen that happen with an IP. The most likely scenario is it goes away and it either never comes back or it comes back 30 years from now, when most people are not going to be here. The people that are complaining about it are probably not going to be here, or they're not going to give a shit about it when it comes back, if it does come back. Because every time this happens with a franchise, every time something like this happens, whether it be Star Trek, Star Wars, Marvel, Disney, whatever, it is a detriment within that franchise, whether you want to connect it or not, whether you think it's canon, whether you think it's part of the same ecosystem. It just hurts the IP. Anytime this happens, they're not making more Star Trek. This is going away, and we've only got a season, I think, of Strange New Worlds left, and then the second season of this, and that's it. Matter of fact, there's actually an example of the opposite happening with the DCEU and the DCU. At the end of the DCEU, most people who were hardcore Snyder fans, who were really mad that Snyder wasn't a part of it anymore, wanted it to end because they were thinking, we get rid of this, we can either bring Snyder back or start something better. We're going to get something even better. And then James Gunn comes along, takes over the DCU, and people are still complaining about it, actually saying it's worse than the thing that they complained about that ended up getting canceled. So there is no example of this magical, better thing on the other side of the bridge when something gets removed because you don't like it. I can't think of one, and I'm pretty sure most of y'all can't think of one either. So anyway, it's not about the wokeness. It's not about XYZ. It's not about how many gay characters are on the show. It's not about a woman being captain. It's not about her not wearing shoes. None of that matters to the executives. We have a company that is going to be, if everything plays out the way they think it is, $100 billion in debt. And you think they care about a captain that doesn't wear shoes? You think that's what they're worried about? You think they're worried about Nerdrotic complaining that there's a gay character on the show? Do you think that's what they care about? They don't give a fuck about this stuff. And I know that hurts a lot of people's feelings, but that's just the reality of it. They do not care. Whether the show, I'm gonna leave it here. I'm gonna end it with this. Whether the show was a slam dunk or an absolute failure, all signs point towards they were not moving forward with any Star Trek anymore after this year. The Alex Kurtzman contract, the debt, the fact they want to make movies, all of this points towards them shifting strategically because of finances. And I don't think Star Trek is going to be the last thing we see this happening with. We saw it happen with Taylor Sheridan. He moved his shit over. Star Trek's, the person behind all the new Star Trek stuff is gone. Nothing's in the pipeline for that. This isn't the end of it. We're going to see more stuff like this from Paramount get canceled. And anyone that wanted Paramount to gobble up Warner Brothers Discovery, just understand they will do the same fucking thing to all of the stuff you love over at the WBD, whether you think it's woke or not.